Okay, I'm going to call the meeting to order. And Dan, you want to lead us in the pledge?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. We can get a roll call.
Director Carliskin,
Yes, present.
Director Halden,
Here.
Director Landon,
Here.
Chairman Alvord.
Here, thank you. You want to take us into the statement of meeting procedures?
Yes, thank you. Welcome to the Western Placer Waste Management Authority meeting of February 8, 2024. Agendas are available on the table outside this meeting room. If you are here to speak on a matter not on the agenda, you may do so during public comment. The board is not permitted to take action on items addressed under public comment. All items on the agenda will be open for the public to address before final action is taken. Accessibility information is provided on the meeting agenda. Please turn off or put in silent mode all cell phones and other electronic devices. Thank you for your participation.
Thank you for the reminder. Turn off my device, too.
Yeah.
Okay, we're going to move into item 5, election of officers. Mr. Bell.
Yeah, thank you, Chair Alvord, members of the board. We're here are asking your board to elect officers for this year. Last year, the order was switched from what has historically been done, and so what we're recommending is to essentially go back to what it would have been last year. It is totally up to your board whether that's something you want to follow or not, but the order is listed. The historical order is listed in the agenda, and with that, I'll turn it back to your board.
All right. Directors, do you have any comment on it?
I have no comment. I will, is it a motion?
Nope. I guess we probably have to take public comment on this, right? So
Yep.
Then I'll make a motion after that.
Okay.
Okay.
Open this up to the public. Does the public have any comment on this item? All right. I'll close public comment and bring it back to the board for a motion, I guess.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to elect Supervisor Landon as chair and Councilmember Alvord as vice chair.
Second.
Any more discussion?
No, I'm fine with just continuing the meeting as is, and I can take over in the next meeting so you can finish off.
Thank you. I'm going to do a roll call vote.
A groundhog.
Director Carliskin,
Yes.
Director Halden,
Yes.
Director Landon,
Yes.
Chairman Alvord.
Yes. Thank you. And thank you for Shanti for taking that over.
Thank you for having confidence in me.
This is an opportunity for public comment. If anybody in the public wishes to address any item that is currently not on our agenda, this would be the time. Or to bring up any issue that's currently not on the agenda. I can say that right. Sorry, this is my last time doing this, so it's okay. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and close public comment. Go into item number 7, announcements and information, report from directors. Do any of the directors have anything they'd like to share? Dan, we're happy to see you back.
Yeah.
Thank you. Even though it's as an alternate, but yes, thank you. It's good to be back. It's a fun board.
All right, move into item B, report from Executive Director Kevin Bell.
Yes, a few things tonight. Wanted to report on the MOU with the county that we anticipate that will be considered by the Board of Supervisors prior to our March meeting. The general manager applications that closed this past week, and meetings should be on all the calendars. I think we've checked to make sure and confirm that those meetings are on calendars for your board for that process to play out. And then lastly, I wanted to let your board know that we, as part of the TAG, are reaching out to set individual meetings with each of the member agencies with their TAG rep to talk about expectations. One of our strategic goals is to exceed expectations, and so want to understand what those expectations are, and then also set expectations of what everybody expects the TAG to do and how to perform and those kinds of things. And so just wanted to let your board know that we are going to be doing that. Individual meetings at first, but then bringing it back as a group and talking as a group to the TAG. So just wanted to let your board know that. And that's all I have.
Okay, thank you very much. Anybody have any questions on that?
Just, so we'll have special meetings on the 20th and the 1st, is that correct?
Yes, February 20th, March 1st.
Okay.
And I believe there was one more. Not special meeting. No, you're correct. So March 14th is our regular meeting, and then our regular meeting in April.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Okay, go ahead and move into financial reports. Mr. Otto?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Your board has the financial reports through December in your packet. And we are currently tracking above revenues and below expenses for the month. I will note on the revenues that a majority of that, tracking above the revenue estimates is due to the one-time adjustment to the post-closure fund that we mentioned last month. But even if that's taken out of the picture, we are still in the black for revenues. And then, as noted, we are tracking below our expenditures to this point in the year. A majority of that is related to the capital projects and really just a timing issue of when those payments will be made. But all in all, looking very solid at this point in the year. And with that, if there's any questions, happy to answer them.
All right. Anybody have any questions? All right. Anybody in the public have any questions? Okay, we'll go into the monthly tonnage reports. Mr. Otto.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Your board has the monthly tonnage reports through January in front of you. We did see a little dip in revenue for the month of January, and in looking at the various tonnage categories, it would appear that it could be somewhat weather related. So seeing that construction, demolition, inert materials, and wood waste all took noticeable dips under our projections. Those tend to be very subject to the weather, construction related activities and access to the facility. So given the weather conditions we experienced in January, not really a surprise, but it did reflect itself as an overall dip in our revenues. But to this point in the year, we are still tracking above our overall projections for most commodities and most importantly for revenue. So with that, if there's any questions about the revenue or the tonnage projections, happy to answer them.
May I have any questions?
Nope.
I'm guessing that your wood waste is going to spike with fences.
Yeah.
Very
In my
possibly. That
neighborhood,
is, it's a good point. That has happened in the past. When we see significant storms, we do see those spikes, and we do our best to take those out for future projections, so that we're not basing our future tonnage projections on those abnormalities. But yeah, we expect to see some spikes here pretty soon.
I think just in my neighborhood alone, I think there's a few truckloads of fence posts, so
Yes.
it's going to be interesting.
Yeah, between that and trees that got knocked over, I'm sure we'll see some spikes there.
All right, thank you. And MRF improvement project updates. Representative from FCC.
Good evening. My name is Brandon Stevens, Senior Operations Manager for FCC. We're still on the critical path for firing up the MRF in December of this year, 2024. Last month, we successfully passed our C&D commissioning test and then immediately went into testing the MSW. As of Monday, we started exclusively treating MSW at the new C&D, and it's actually going really well. So we're very excited about that. And then our plan is to start the commissioning of the new MSW equipment in November of this year. So
Great.
with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
So, is there like a tear down that's going to be happening pretty
Yeah,
soon?
So we started the demolition process Monday,
Okay.
and so that's kind of ramping up as the week progresses, and we'll really ramp up next week. They're going to run 2 shifts to really start getting rid of all that old equipment inside there.
Okay. Are we able to I'm not looking for big money, but are we able to sell any of that stuff?
I believe they're going to be recycling all of that. I don't know exactly what the extent of that contract is, but we could circle back with that information for you.
And to answer your point, Director Halden, in terms of revenue back to the authority, part of the contract with FCC, as removing that equipment, they take ownership of it. So they remove and dispose of it. So there wouldn't be any revenue back to the authority by virtue of selling it.
All right, thanks.
It's interesting, so our C&D facility will process the C&D from the old facility in a way kind of unique. Any questions from the directors?
No questions, but I did get to do my tour a couple weeks ago. I sadly did not take the cardboard slide down the new module. Only because I had a meeting right after, but I totally would have done it otherwise. I just knew I would like end up with mud all over me. But it was very impressive, and I loved being able to see it before while it was still kind of shiny and new, even though it had been used a teensy bit, but it was great.
All right. Well, thank you for your report.
Thank you.
And Emily has an outreach update for us.
Yes, thank you, Chairman Albert. 2023 was a very full year for outreach. I won't list all of the groups that came in, but one that I'm particularly proud of is that this year WATMA staff gave tours to 1,157 individuals from our community. So whether that was an elected representative, a resident, a community group, or every single Nugget Market employee from nearby locations, it was a really great opportunity to showcase not only our existing facilities, but also some of the exciting things that are to come in the future. Additionally, we gave presentations throughout the community to various community groups and local schools, as well as participated in engaging our local circular economy efforts. We presented more than 50 times about our circular economy and economic development goals throughout 2023. The big one for me personally was bringing back the odor workshop in person after holding that virtually for the last several years, as well as a bus tour that accompanied that was very well attended. Additionally, the WATMA increased our earned media by 153% from the previous year. And looking forward into 2024, some of the really exciting things that we have on the docket, including providing more facility tours to community groups and things like that, include working with Bright Beginnings Welcoming Services to reach the new residents who are moving to Placer County, particularly Western Placer County and our service area. And additionally, I'm very excited to announce Trash Bash. Over the last year, while we're under construction and the site is perhaps a bit more hazardous, we have paused facility tours for children. Over the last several months, we have received an outpouring of inquiries about providing facility tours and the opportunity for some of the youngest residents of Placer County to visit the facility and learn more about recycling and waste management in a more hands-on way. And so to address that, staff is organizing a community event here at our facility on Saturday, April 13th, to invite members of the community for a free event here at the WATMA to engage with young, particularly elementary school aged children in a fun, trash bashy way. So you're all invited, but we're really looking forward to ideally making that an annual event for years to come. Additionally, we have an opportunity that I'll share about a little bit later with the Roseville Joint Union High School District to increase our education efforts there. And lastly, later this year, staff will hold a strategic plan workshop for your board to share about accomplishments from the past year with regards to the strategic plan and solicit your feedback and directions on priorities for your board in 2024 and in subsequent years. And with that, I am happy to answer any questions that your board may have.
Great. Directors have any questions?
No questions, but really great work. It's so awesome to see how much you got done in 1 year. It's so impressive. And I got to see the Eco Hero presentation too, and it was super cute. So great work.
Thank you.
And as we get closer to the trash bash, if you can give us details, we can promote it. talk about it.
Absolutely.
Do you have a time at all?
It's going to be from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. And I can send a follow-up email. I just made our poster today, so
Oh, okay.
I will send that out to your board later.
Great. Okay, thank you, Emily. We're going to move into our action items 8A. First one's the minutes from our last meeting, January 11. Does anybody have any questions or comments on the minutes? Is there a motion to approve them?
I'll move approval.
Second?
Actually, I guess I open this up. Do I open this up to the public for, open this up to the public, see if anybody wants to ask any questions about the minutes? Don't see a rush to the podium. Okay, we'll close public comment. We have a first and a second here, and or I guess roll call.
Director Carliskin,
I think I need to abstain. I wasn't here.
Director Halden,
Yes.
Director Landon,
Yes.
Chairman Alvord.
Yes, thank you. Item B, Roseville Joint Union High School District Work Experience Education Training. Emily.
Thank you, Director Albert. Tonight, staff are recommending that your board authorize a 3-year agreement with the Roseville Joint Union High School District to provide work experience education training for students here at the authority. Several months ago, some representatives from the Roseville Joint Union High School District had the opportunity to attend one of those many tours here at the facility, and staff began discussions particularly related to the high school district's career technical education programs, specifically inviting high school students to have internships at local businesses as well as in local governments, including the city of Roseville and Placer County. The representatives from the school district shared that there is an increased demand for environmental engineering internships, as that's a career path that many students are eager and interested to pursue, and one that here at the WAPMA we are thrilled that they are considering. And so we began to start those discussions, and we believe that providing internships for those students here at the authority will be beneficial not only to those students, but also to the authority as well. We are still working through some final language with legal counsel and risk before that agreement is final. But we are working through that so that way we have a very good agreement. There's no net cost to the authority for this internship, as the school district bears some burden in realizing any costs associated with that. And with that, I am happy to answer any questions that your board may have.
Directors have any questions? Sorry, I'm falling out of my chair. So it authorizes the chair to sign the agreement, but the agreement's not finished yet, so it's subject to the...
Yes, in your packet tonight, it's presented in a draft form. The changes that are being recommended they don't impact the intent of the agreement.
Okay.
They're merely clarification of language and things like that.
Great, okay, thank you so much.
Mr. Chairman, if I could, if I would suggest any motion made, if your board chooses to approve the agreement, include the authority for staff to implement the changes proposed by the risk manager, subject to council approval, to then have the agreement presented to you for final signature.
Okay. Thank you very much. Is there anybody in the public wish to address this item? All right, we'll close public comment. And do we have a motion subject to changes?
I'll move approval.
Second?
All right, roll call.
Director Carliskin,
Yes.
Director Halden,
Yes.
Director Landon,
Yes.
Chairman Alvord.
Yes, thank you. Okay, item C, scheduled tipping fee increase evaluation. Mr. Otto.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Tonight, staff are requesting and recommending that your board provide direction to staff regarding implementation of the previously approved fiscal year 24-25 tipping fee increase that is currently scheduled to become effective July 1 of this year. So as your board will likely recall that in preparation for issuance of the bonds, your board approved a multi-year rate increase to ensure that there's sufficient operating revenue and that we can meet the bond covenants, particularly what is referred to as the coverage factor, wherein that reflects having sufficient net revenues to be in excess of our annual debt coverage, our actual debt payment, excuse me. And that ratio is referred to as the coverage and typically referred to in terms of a percentage. Our bond covenant is to have at least 125% coverage. So, 125% net revenues compared to what our debt service is. As we went through the process of preparing and issuing of the bonds, we did multi-year projections, looking out at least 5 years and what our debt service coverage would be, and use that to help obtain the bond rating that we ended up getting of a AA bond rating, which your board will likely recall was, I think, a huge victory to this agency in terms of exceeding our expectations on our bond rating and helping to reduce the interest rate on those bonds. But as noted in Exhibit A in the staff report, that shows that 5-year projection with our coverage expectations at the time, which ranged from 158% to approximately 162%. In speaking with our financial advisors, that wasn't stellar, that wasn't amazing, but it was sufficient. With all the authority's operations and our history built in, and that coverage ratio, that's what helped us get to that AA rating. Well, things have obviously changed, and I think that's why your board directed staff to step back and reevaluate. It's been 18 to 20 months or so since those rate increases were put into place, and it's prudent to step back and say, have conditions change where maybe a full rate increase is no longer necessary. And so staff did take a look at how things have varied since that point in time, and as we've reported many times to your board, we have seen lower than anticipated tonnages showing up at the facility, which means lower than anticipated revenues. We are still in a financially strong position, but not in the same position we were when we first issued the bonds. In addition, things that have developed since that bond issuance that your board has directed is the MOU with the county and the decision to move forward with having a general manager and the costs that accrue from that. There'll be some staffing changes. We'll see some cost changes, savings with no longer relying on Department of Public Works for some of our services, but it's difficult to know at this point whether it'll be a net savings, a net increase, or neutral, but it'll be a change no matter what. So in looking at least the tonnage projections and what we could reasonably foresee in terms of changes in costs, staff put together a revised and updated projected revenue analysis for the next 5 years, and that's shown in Exhibit B in the package. I would like to note that there's 2 assumptions in there, and the assumption is one, that the 2.5% rate increase scheduled for July does stay in place. And then the second big one is that that it's continued full commitment by all the member agencies through that 5 years. We all know that Roseville does have the option to take a portion of its waste elsewhere. We've talked about that many times. That would, the soonest point where that would happen would be July of 2025. So you'll see that our coverage numbers do jump up at that point. That's if Roseville stays in. If Roseville does elect to take some of its material elsewhere, staff will be bringing items back to your board to look at soliciting other entities to utilize the uncommitted tonnage that's available here. I'm not saying that that's just from Roseville taking part of it elsewhere, but really realizing the full value of the equipment here and trying to bolster those revenues. From my perspective, it doesn't make sense to have very expensive equipment sitting idle out there. We're best using that to the best degree possible. That actually kind of plays into some of the variables noted in the staff report that could have an influence on our finances and our coverage value going forward, both positive and negative. Noting their continued economic factors, inflationary factors, that maybe that is what has put a bit of a downward pressure on our tonnages to this point. There's some regulatory pressures that are brewing out there. Nothing is solidified yet, but we have been having discussions with the Air District about potential cost increases. So we need to be planning for that. But on the flip side, on the positive side, there's opportunities for increased grant revenues coming in. We did report to your board about being awarded the $10 million organics grant from the state. There's some elements we're still working through the state with that. The state's obviously in a deficit position again, so there's never any guarantee that they'll actually have that money available for us, but we're working with the state. So we didn't want to count on that at this point, but that would, any of those types of grants would help our revenue picture in the future. Development of on-site compatible technologies and opportunities there where it would increase rent and royalty revenues here. And then, as I noted, increased interest by outside entities. I think that one of the unique positions of the authority is the facilities that we have here, the wide range of facilities from composting, being able to manage mixed waste and pull the organics out and have 1383 compliance will be, I'm sure, very enticing to other entities that don't have quite the infrastructure that the authority has. And so there's opportunities there. But all these items right now are still fairly speculative. So bottom line at this point, staff are recommending that your board stay the course, keep the rate increase that's already been approved in place for enactment on July 1. One last thing I would like to note is that we did look at, could we reduce that rate increase and how far down could we go while still meeting the coverage covenant? And I was honestly a bit surprised to see that we could reduce the rate increase down by half, down to about a 1.25%, but that would take us right down to the razor's edge on the bond covenant. And given some of the volatility out there in the market, it's our opinion that that's too risky at this point. And that given that your board has already made that tough decision to modify the rates, let's stay the course, but we can come back and evaluate for future years using the same methodology. So with that, I'll turn it back to your board. If there's any questions about the analysis or any direction to staff, we're here to listen.
All right, questions from the directors?
Just, I think with or without the full commitment from Roseville, I think we have extra capacity to process. So, I hope we're actively pursuing getting more trash.
That's my comment too, yeah, why wait?
Yeah.
Right, and we are establishing those relationships currently, and part of this is what Emily was talking about, of bringing people out here to see the facility, because that's where the rubber really meets the road. And I think once, now that C&D is up and operating, and as soon as the MRF is operating, it's going to be a much easier sell. But we need to start that relationship building now.
Yep. Okay. I'm out there selling.
Excellent.
Other questions, comments?
No question.
No. Given the volatility, you talked about if you were to cut it in half, is the 2% adequate given volatility, or are we at risk there?
I think at this point it is adequate. I mean, we still maintain a reasonable coverage number. I don't think staff is in a position at this point to recommend that your board increase it past the 2.5%. I would suggest, letting this play out, and we'll continue to track this closely. In the financial forecast, we do have another 2.5% rate increase scheduled for the following year, and that's when where we'll bring that back again with a concerted review and recommendation to your board. But I think at this point, staying with the 2.5% is sufficient.
Even with just normal unknowns and normal fluctuations, we're running 30% off of about 25-30% off of the coverage rates that we projected. Added the new potential undefined yet things. I am not or would not be in favor of cutting the 2.5% at all. I think you stay the path and evaluate every 12 to 18 months, but you don't, you evaluate against the model that we built, because that's what says we're going to pay off things on time and be in great shape. And we're deviating from that, not drastically, but enough that it bothers me. So that's my feeling on it. We're not tracking well enough to start out with.
I would agree. I think the two higher rate increases before that were really hard pills to swallow for some jurisdictions, especially. And 2.5% is a reasonable amount, especially if that's their guesstimate in the future too. Kind of back onto normal. Open this up for public comments. Anybody in the public have anything they'd like to ask or add? We close public comment. Anybody have any motion on it?
I think
I think
given that we're not changing course, I don't think we need to take an action. Because we previously approved this.
Yeah, that that is correct. No,
Okay, sorry.
no action is required on this.
Thank you very much for that. It was under my action items section, so I made an assumption. Okay, any other agenda items that the board would like to bring in the future?
I don't have an agenda item, but I do have something for you. Can I
Okay.
do that?
Oh.
Okay. Is this the right time? Okay. Well, we would, of course, all like to say thank you for your service and your time serving as chair, and so we want to present you with this plaque. Your name's spelled wrong. No, I'm just kidding. It's
I'll be the first.
Thank you so much.
Thank
We
you.
appreciate you.
Well, thank you very much. That's really unexpected. I was not expecting that, so. Okay, if there's nothing else for anybody, take a motion to adjourn.
I just wish I could come up with a lot of items for the agenda, future agenda,
And then
but I can't.
Dan, is this your last official meeting then on the board?
Well, actually, it was a week ago, last meeting. We didn't do the rotation of mayors for a month late. So the 28th, 3rd is when Holly officially took over. And like all well-planned things, she had to miss the first meeting. And what we did is we switched two boards where she was primary, I was alternate. We just reversed them because of scheduling problems. And I think I'm gonna have to ask her to cover my first one on the other board. So
that's funny.
anyway,
I
I
would-
have enjoyed, I can't tell you how much, working with staff, even with county staff, which is, anyway, and all of the board members consistently, I was on the board for what, 6 years, I think. Consistently a good board, a board that did their research, was dedicated, not afraid to show differences and discuss differences, but in the end, we're able to have a level of collegiality that doesn't always happen. So it was a worthwhile experience in my career very much.
You can always just come and hang out and just watch.
I would wonder if you did that, though. I'd like to say I've served on this board 1 year, and you've been very educational to me. I have so much appreciated your comments on here because you bring back, you have a history of experience on here, and I know your jurisdiction greatly appreciates you, and I know your partners here as well. You have a lot of wisdom, and thank you so much for your service.
Thank you.
And I would just add, it's been an eventful time, Dan. So maybe when you go away, maybe it'll be less eventful. A lot of things have happened.
A lot of things that happen.
Yeah.
I will be back in December to attend the ribbon
Oh,
cutting.
good.
Yes. Yeah.
December, did you hear that?
Yeah.
Okay, with that, we're going to go ahead and adjourn the meeting to our next one, which I don't have the date on, but whenever that's scheduled. And after I tap this thing, Shanti will be the new chair. So thank you, Shanti.
All right.
We're adjourned.